Good
We're
afternoon,
live.
folks.
Hello.
We are live again. I'm Phil.
I'm Tina.
We are today. We are Matrix Talk. Usually
We
Kevin's
are
here, but
Matrix.
he's away. He'll be back next week. It is
Lovely.
Friday, May the 27th.
It is.
We're heading into June, and I am now in the process because I forgot to do this, folks. Is here's what you do if you're new. You basically just chat in. There's a chat down there. You see it, right?
Hello.
And you say, yeah. And I say, greetings from Langhorne, PA. So, hey, if you're here, I know there's a couple of you that might be on the call. So please say hi, where you're from. And that's the way we roll here at Matrix Talk. Hey, Carl. All right, Canada. Welcome. Thank you for joining us
Hey,
today.
Carl. I just replied to your email.
Oh, even better. Now he's showing up live. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Carl, also while you're here, oh, and there's Erin. Hi,
Hi,
Erin.
Aaron.
If you are so inclined, and we hope that you are, please click the follow button in the upper right.
Please do.
That gives you notifications when Matrix Talk is doing stuff.
There.
Oh, great. Well, glad you could be here. We're always here Friday at 1 o'clock, Carl, if you want to tune in.
Yeah. And everything's always recorded.
And
If
it's
you
always
click that.
recorded. So if you can't make it, this recording will be available immediately after we
Yeah.
get done today, within minutes. Crowdcast is great. We love Crowdcast. That's why we're here. And speaking of Crowdcast, we also love Crowdcast because there is a green button below, which you can click if you want to see. We're going to just walk through a few of our resources today that you can be using for how to be an SEL coach with the ACT Matrix, because that's what the title is today.
No certification required.
No,
At all.
we are going to show you everything that you need to know to be an SEL coach with the ACT Matrix. We're going to do that right here today.
And we strongly urge you.
And then our call to action for you, I don't even care about whether anybody gets anything today. My call to action to you is to take this and show it to a child or a teenager or an educator, a parent, yourself. Just do it. That's all I would ask you to do today.
That's all.
And usually we wait for a couple of minutes because people get notifications and then they go, hopefully they come rushing to their device. Although it's a holiday weekend here in the States, Carl. It's a Memorial Day weekend, so everybody's got a long weekend. So people may have already begun their weekend. But we're going to keep doing it. Oh, and there's Carl. I have an idea to share that you could do a session on. Is that something you would be? Sure. So, Carl, here's what you do. You are already in contact with Tina. So please email her. And then we learn something here every time we do
the
crowd.
And we love to hear what other people are using the Matrix for or want to use it for, or hey, do you think the Matrix could work for this? We're usually going to say yes and go try it and let us know.
About 99.9% of the time.
But we also like to have guests if you are using the ACT Matrix already and want to share with our audience about what it is that you're doing, or if you want us to try something out. That's always fun too.
We are
see if we can matricize anything.
Yeah.
That's fun too.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we just went through a series where we had our students, present and former students, come on and show their stuff right here on Crowdcast. This is our channel, and this is how we get our mission of promoting world peace out into the world. That's what we're up to. So I think we should probably get. What do you think?
Good.
All right. So here's what we usually do. We're going to Tina's going to make herself big. And I'm going to go to the lower left. Just like that. And then you're going to see a diagram here. So before we begin, here's the way that I start and Tina starts. Hello, I would like to show you how I increase my psychological flexibility. Is it okay if I show you? And please join in with me if you're so inclined. And then that's why we use the chat over there, Carl and Erin, which is someone just gives us a yes and we can get started. We shall wait. There's the yes. Oh, yes. Oh, boy. Tina said yes. I think she wants to do the diagram.
Yeah. I'm going to make you do it, even if I show up here for a reason.
We're all here for a purpose, right? Yeah, and it's good to know what the reason is why you're showing up too.
I'm not leaving without a
what
matrix.
Tina's drawing here is we're drawing the basic matrix diagram, and it starts at the top with the 5 senses. That's the vertical line, and then information flows down inside of us. It shows up in our mind. Okay, so if you're working with kids, basically the 5 senses is the social world, and the mind really becomes the emotional world. So you have those two worlds that we can, we'll notice, but we'll do that in a little bit. And then also, everything that you do in your life, you're doing to either move towards some satisfaction or you're doing stuff to get relief from like uncomfortable stuff. So we're doing it all the time. And so that's the way the diagram works. And then we start in the lower right quadrant. So we start with a question. And the question that we usually will ask of everyone is, who is important to you? So then I would pause, and part of this whole matrix approach is we go first. So I would say, my wife is important to me. And there, I just said it again.
And I'm going to put my mom. She showed up for graduation this morning.
Awesome. Awesome. Great.
Kids.
And kids. Great, Carl. Your kids are important to you. Right. And Erin, you got one there? Maybe you're pondering. But yeah, wife, mom, kids.
I put my brother today too.
You put your bro down there. Oh, you know what? Let me put my sister down today because it's her birthday today.
Oh.
Happy birthday. I already said happy birthday to her, but now I'll be able to tell her I did it on a Crowdcast too.
And it'll be recorded forever.
Forever.
Evidence.
It's good to, get your street cred in there, right?
Yes.
All right. So then, if you think about it, if you're going to ask that same question of a child, a student, guess what you're going to get, folks? Well, you're not going to get a wife probably, unless you're dealing with, people that are at the higher level of education. Hopefully not. But you're going to get similar stuff. They're going to say my mom. They're going to say my friends. Yeah, exactly. They're going to say their friends, right? They're going to say my teacher is important to me. I've heard them say this. So we just put all that stuff down there in the lower right.
And what if they say only my video games?
Oh, then I would say, cool. Your video games are important to you. And then guess what we would write? Video games. Because you can put what's important down there too. And very often that's what they say. Because, kids think more concretely. Oh, the dog. There you go. Thank you, Katie.
What if they say my favorite YouTube personality? I can't wait to be them one day.
Oh, I would say that's cool. What's the name of your favorite YouTube personality?
All right.
Oh, here's one I get. Roblox is important to me, right? So This is how you do it, folks. You start right here. You ask who's important, and this is exactly what happens, whether they're big or little. It's the same process. So once we have that, you could have a conversation just doing that for a while. It's a lot of fun.
And if you're watching the recording, you could also pop your answer into the chat.
Absolutely. Feel free.
On the side or below if you're on an app.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd love to see those.
Now, over there in the lower left is where we put yucky stuff. My yucky stuff. Oh, what's the whiteboard app? It's Notability. It's an Apple app, Mac Apple app. Yeah, it's very cool, Carl. So over here, we're putting yucky stuff. And the stuff that shows up inside of you that you kind of don't want. So for me, I'll go first. Sometimes I'll have this thing called fear that shows up inside of me. Now, you might have something like that. You might have something else. So what kind of yucky stuff shows up for you or might show up for you?
I got imposter syndrome.
Oh, there we go. Us adults, kids don't suffer so much from imposter
No,
syndrome.
they don't.
They definitely, that's an acquired yucky stuff. Right, Tina? Acquired yucky stuff.
No, children are experts at everything.
Oh, they
Just
know
ask them.
Here, let me show you how to do that. Oh, hey, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're doing it wrong.
Where would daydreaming without action go? Oh, well, that's a good question. That's a little more of an advanced question. But if someone said daydreaming, I would say, well, is daydreaming important to you or does it feel yucky? And then I would wait for that person's response. So, Carl, if you're asking me that question, where would you put daydreaming on the diagram? We'll wait. Because it can actually go anywhere. The answer is go anywhere. Usually it feels good. Okay. Oh, so guess what we can do with that, Carl? We could put daydreaming over there with the satisfaction stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now watch this tricky move. We could put daydreaming over there on the upper left as something that you might do to get relief. So we're being
Flexible?
very loose and flexible, as you can see, because this is kind of like on the fly. This is how you do it. This is improv, folks.
This is sorting.
Yeah, we're sorting.
Yeah,
which is the next level.
Yep.
So, but over here, let's get back to the yucky stuff because we want to kind of get through our loop here. So we're going to come back over to the yucky stuff. And then we're going to say, well, stuff like fear, imposter syndrome, guilt, anxiety is very popular, tired. One of the things that I have heard many, many times from students over the years is bored shows up.
And how about just school?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how about, have you ever heard one say my teacher is yucky?
Yes, the teacher can show up on the yucky stuff side. I've heard that maybe a few hundred times. Oh, so Twitter says self-doubt. Yeah, we're good. So we got a nice list of yucky stuff going here.
And the rule is you write it down, right?
Yeah, whatever they say, you put it down.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're going to head up to the upper left. Carl, you have already sorted a relief move for yourself. But the way that I would introduce it would be, so when this yucky stuff shows up inside of you or me, I have this kind of immediate urge to want to do something to get some relief, to get away from it. So for fear, I might go up there and I would do this thing called run. I might run to try to get some relief from my fear. And then, what we do is we're just going to draw a line up there, a nice little swirly line up there from the fear up to the run or hide. So that's what I do. So, Carl, you have already shared with us what you might do to get relief from, well, what would it be relief from? If you were going to do some daydreaming, what might you be trying to get relief from down there in the yucky stuff? It could be anything. When I was a kid, I was doing daydreaming in school to get relief from my boredom. That's how I used to do it. And then we can look at the rest of the things.
Guilt.
Syndrome.
I'm going to pray to get rid of my guilt.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Imposter syndrome.
Something for the teacher. Let's do the teacher.
Google.
Oh, Carl would Google.
Google. Yep. Google for that imposter syndrome. I made a swoopy mess. The teachers.
Yeah. So something for the teacher. Okay, here's one that I have seen and heard. They would leave. Oh, yeah, complain. Yeah. That's if they stay there, right? Yeah. I used to work with students that would just get up and leave.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye.
Going to eliminate my yucky stuff very quickly. So, folks, what we're doing here is we're just putting up the relief moves that you or I or anybody else would engage in to get relief. No editorial comment, no judgment, no evaluation. We're just putting it up there just the way that people say. So now we're going to slide over to the upper right. And now we're going to do the things that we do or might do to achieve satisfaction with those important people. So, for example, for my wife, she and I just had lunch, so I would have lunch with my wife as a satisfaction move.
Ooh, and for my mom, I invited her to graduation
Oh,
at the
nice.
preschool.
Very nice. And she accepted.
came. Yes.
Yeah. And then we could do the same thing for kids.
Kids? What do we do? Play with the kids. That's fun.
Yep. For brother. For my sister, I called her to wish her happy birthday. And she doesn't know it yet, but she's getting a gift basket. So,
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And my brother, he's actually heading to my house now to help my husband move something, but also we're going to a birthday party at his house.
Yep.
On Sunday. Text to check in.
There you go. And then we could do the same thing for something to do for the dog. Well, let's see.
I think dogs like to be fed.
Katie, what you going to do for your dog? Yep. Yeah. We're going to feed him. Walk the dog. There you go. Nice. Yeah, cool. And then video games are important. So what are you going to do? Come on, folks. Low-hanging fruit here. For video games, we're going to play. That's exactly right. So now we got a cool list of stuff going on. And now what I do is I make this a point of view for myself. And I'm going to go into the middle of this diagram. And I'm going to make a circle. Tina will do it in just a second here. And then in that circle, in the middle of the diagram, we're going to write a word. And the word is notice. As in, do you think you might have an opportunity to notice your important people, say in the next week or so? What do you think, folks? Might you have an opportunity to do that? No, here we go. How about noticing some yucky stuff showing up? Might you have an opportunity to notice some yucky stuff showing up?
Yes.
All right. Might you have an opportunity to notice yourself or other people doing some relief moves?
Yes.
Yeah. And now, might you have an opportunity to notice yourself doing some satisfaction moves?
Yeah.
There you go. So, folks, we have completed one loop around the matrix with a student, with us, and you could do the same thing with a student, right? This is what we call the me matrix. But we're not going to stop there.
Ooh.
Because we have another diagram, another matrix that we can show them. They might even say, hey, can I show you another diagram that I use? Or you could just go right into it. It's a matter of personal preference at this point. But usually, I like to show both loops of the matrix when we're doing this SEL kind of coaching stuff. So it's going to be the exact same matrix as the last time. Satisfaction on the right, relief on the left, 5 senses at the top, mind at the bottom, right? And now we're going to ask a different question. We're shifting the focus here a little bit. And the question that we're going to ask, that we're going to put the answers to in the lower right, is going to be, what's our shared purpose? What might it be? What are we here to do? And for us, our shared purpose, to learn, Carl. Excellent. Right. And for us, it's going to be, well, right now we're here to do 2 loops for SEL. Anybody else got one? Well, sometimes people come to practice. Like, this is part of our practice, folks, what Tina and I do all the time. We were just commenting on, we love doing Crowdcast because it gives us an opportunity to do 2 loops.
It's just like open practice, at the ice arena for you to come watch us practice.
We're always looking for the next fix is kind of the idea here, right?
Yeah.
It's a positive addiction. Let's put it that way. Engage my student. Yeah, very good. Right. Now, if you're a student, what might your students say at this point about a shared purpose?
Oh, for going to school?
Yeah.
I gotta see my friends.
There you go. That's exactly the number one thing that they say.
Or get away from mom.
Well, the other thing they say is my parents made me come.
Yeah.
So guess what we're going to do with that, folks?
Comply with mom.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Katie. And some kids are saying, yeah, I'm here so I can go to college. I'm here now. So that person's already doing some perspective taking on they're here now and they're wanting to head over there later, which is a very cool thing. And I used to get that quite a bit too. So if they're here to comply with mom, we're going to put that down because all we're writing down is, I'm just curious, what brings you here? Why are you here right now? I'm just going to jot that all down. And this is a very, very important thing to be doing for SEL because we usually don't do that. We don't even do that with adults. And I can tell you for sure we don't do this with students. So we want to have everybody weighing in now. So everybody gets a chance to participate here and say why they're there. So we've got it all jotted down. So now we're going to come over here to the lower left side. And over here in the lower left, we're still dealing with yucky stuff, but now we're dealing with the special brand of yucky stuff that's called social yucky stuff. And all of this stuff right now is for when we are with others. Right now we're looking at what happens when we're together. And again, there's the fear showing up. And that is the big one right there. Fear of judgment, right? The minute that you're with somebody else, you get that little uh-oh experience. Like, I wonder what's going to happen here. Right? Fear of talking could be something that shows up in a social situation. Carl, Katie, you got one? A social yucky that you've observed or experienced? Anxiety, of course. Huge.
I worked with a student who had a fear of their own panic attacks.
There you go. Fear of fear, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go, Katie. Fear of social loss. Yes, exactly. The last thing that you want to be is kicked out of the herd, right? That's not a cool place to be. Yeah, or being blocked. There you go. Yep. And this is exactly the kinds of stuff that students will share when we start getting into the social yucky stuff. And remember now, you're doing this with a group. So now we're there all together. And we're having a shared experience of yucky stuff, which is
on the shared purpose and the social yucky stuff. Are we looking for a consensus from all of the students and teachers, or is it just what did you come for, and that becomes our collective shared purpose, is what we each showed up for?
Well, I guess my answer to that would be yes, because it starts out in order to shift someone's perspective, and we talked about this, and Kevin Polk, the creator of this wonderful diagram, who's talked about this, is we're meeting people where they are. So I want to meet them right where they're at, which is if they're there for their parent, then that's good enough for me. That's a start. Now, in answer to the question, as you go through the process, what starts to show up is other people and things that are important to that person. So you don't have to get hitched up with, I got to get them somewhere. That's kind of that urge that we usually have as well. Our job is to do something. Now, from this perspective, SEL with the Matrix, your job is to promote some psychological flexibility. And then all of that cool stuff shows up naturally. So that's a great question. All right. So now, once we got the social yucky stuff going on, now we're going to go up there to the upper left. And we're going to be looking at the things that we might see in our group that we do to get relief. Could be me, could be you, could be anybody. And the biggie, the easiest one to do to get relief would be to not show up. And I say that from experience because I worked with a lot of students that was their number one relief move, was just to not come. And then fear of talking. Okay, so now you show up, right? So folks, fear of talking shows up. What do you do to get relief from the fear of talking? Don't talk. See, simple. Works like a charm, right? Something for anxiety. Oh, slink down in your desk. That's a good one, Carl. I like that. Yeah. Or I call it go turtle, like the hoodies
yeah.
up over the head.
Yeah. Or put your head down.
Yeah, or put your head down, or, talk to the crook of your the crook of your elbow, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Go to the bathroom. That was.
Oh my gosh, the nurse was a favorite
Yes.
spot, right? Bathroom, nurse, right? Now, we adults, we have more sophisticated away moves. What are our sophisticated relief moves that you might do? The phone. Yeah. Well, everybody does that too, right? The phone is the numero uno, right? And, talk too much, complain,
Gossip.
argue, right? Yeah. And we're just having fun with writing down these relief moves. And folks, what starts to happen is when you're doing this, the people that you're with, they start weighing in with all kinds of stuff. So you're not going to be at a loss for stuff to put in the upper left. Believe me, it comes tumbling out. So now we're going to slide over to the upper right. And in the upper right, we're going to put, well, gee, what kinds of things could we be doing to move toward a shared purpose? All that stuff we just talked about down there, right? And then if I'm working with students, I'm going to say, you did something very important already today. That's it. You showed up. You got it, Carl. Now we got a chance, right? Showed up, you got a chance. And what we like to do in Matrix Talk Land is we like to add communicate respectfully about the shared purpose. Because if we're going to be moving toward a shared purpose, we pretty well need to be, communicating about it in a respectful way, of course. So I like to put that up there, kind of seed it a little bit.
I added do 2 loops.
You do 2 loops.
Be on time.
Be on time. There you go. Yeah. And then if you were to be on time, what might you do when you showed up? That's a question I used to ask a lot.
Participate.
There you go. Yeah. And then you might even go, oh, who are you going to participate with? I'm just having fun now. Now, usually they'll say, with my friends. And that's fine, right? So we're just having fun with it. And we're doing this kind of now, just kind of doing these things. All these things that we do that will help us move closer and maybe even achieve some satisfaction, right? So now we're going to do the same thing with the second loop as we did with the first loop. We're going to come to the middle and we're going to draw our line again. And once again, there's that word, notice. We've used it a bunch now, and we're doing that on purpose too. Because then I'm going to ask, well, gee, do you think that we might have opportunities in the coming few days to notice our shared purposes, why we're here, what we're up to? Yeah. Might we also notice ourselves having some social yucky stuff show up? And maybe also notice that we or others in our group might do things to get relief from yucky stuff from time to time. And might we also notice ourselves doing things to move toward that satisfaction and the shared purpose down there on the lower right? What do you think, folks?
It's a yes for me.
And Carl says yes. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So what we have just done is we have shown you what you need to be an SEL coach with the ACT Matrix. Now, there's a few more bells and whistles, but this is basically it.
If you can do that, and
you can do that, you're going to be good.
Your drawing is free. You don't need any special
materials
for that. And the script is free.
Well, heck, let's go. What is, we're going to get into that. All right, excellent.
What is SEO?
Great question, Carl. You showed up and you were curious, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to, we'll go back to the two of us, Tina. What do you think? There we go. All right. So Carl has asked a question. What is SEL? All right. Well, you want to take that one, Tina? Go ahead.
Social and emotional learning.
That's it. Real simple.
And
basically what we're referring to, folks, is that there is a movement here in this country, in the United States, also probably in Canada, and all over the world, pretty much, for social emotional learning. And usually they have these 5 components they talk about, right? So when we talk about social emotional learning, we talk about things like self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, relationship skills, and decision making.
Yes.
And all of those things together encompass social emotional learning. So how does that sound, Carl? Have we given you a reasonable enough answer for that one? So now you're oriented, right? Okay. So, and what we were doing here today is we're here to kind of go through these loops with you and show you how we do social and emotional learning with students, with younger students, with older students. And this is the approach that we would take either in a classroom or at home or in an organization, wherever you're at, to do what we call coaching, because we are not big fans of fixing people.
No.
Because you can't. But what we're doing here with social emotional learning as it's applied to the ACT matrix is we're doing two basic things. And it's going to go a little bit of advanced for you there, Carl. But the idea is the first loop that we do is we're doing it to promote something called psychological flexibility. And that's coming out of acceptance and commitment therapy and training, just to back up a little bit more. And the idea here is social and emotional, psychological flexibility is really, it comes down to, it's a skill that you can learn to apply for yourself and also with other people. And it's actually, the simple way to think about it is it's what gets you up in the morning and gets you out the door when the yucky stuff is just, chirping in your ear.
Yeah. And it's a key to mental health and mental growth and
yes.
wellness.
Yeah.
Psychological flexibility.
It is one of the core underpinnings.
Intrinsic
Yes.
motivation.
And that's a part of it. That's a part of it. Is intrinsic motivation shows up. And this is why we ask these questions of students, because we don't tell them about what their motivation should be. We ask them. So the motivators are down there in the lower right, in the who and the what is important to them. That's the way it works. So then psychological flexibility becomes, the way I like to put it simply is noticing what works to get you where you want to go, especially when the yucky stuff shows up. Because on a good day, when everything, you got all green lights and the wind is at your back and the sun is shining, things are easy, right? It just kind of flows. You ever have a day like that where you just flow from one thing to another and it's like, you go, wow, this is pretty cool. So that's fine. We all want them. It's when those days show up, when they slap that alarm and the first thought on your head is, I don't want to get up. I feel crappy and all that other kind of stuff, right? So then it gets to be a little bit more dicey. Now your psychological flexibility, now I would say, given what you already know, is it increasing or decreasing, would you say, when you're really kind of having that yucky stuff showing up and you start kind of messing around with it a bit? What would you say, Carl or Katie? Would it be increasing or decreasing? Oh, yeah. Katie has said it would be decreased. So Carl, when you are psychologically flexible, you have more options and choices available to you, right? When you're less psychologically flexible, you're more, well, if you looked at that diagram, and if you're looking at this diagram, your attention is drawn more down here into your mind, into your mental experience. And typically it's drawn more over here into the yucky stuff. So what we're doing is we're doing some noticing here, adding noticing, helping them see the big picture, whether it's an adult or a child, so they can, yes, behavioral repertoire is reduced. You got it. That's it. So they can increase their behavioral repertoire. We don't tell them how they should do it, but they will discover that. It happens naturally. But now they have more access to their behavioral repertoire. And now they can go out and try stuff out and see how it works. So our target is always how we can work with people, young and old, to increase their psychological flexibility, which increases, expands out their behavioral repertoire. So then they can go out and do the things that they want to do. First individually, then later on in a group. And that's what the two loops are for. So that's it. Now, again, there are more nuances. There's more things that we do and that we train people to do. But this in and of itself, doing those 2 loops really begins to shift the perspective of people, and especially young people.
And Katie mentioned that it can be culture changing if implemented.
Katie's already had that experience. Right.
Yeah. And that's also where that pro-social we matrix for psychological safety, but it starts with the basic psychological flexibility, one loop.
And then builds up.
Yeah, but it can become a simple, sustainable, but also scalable way to have common language around
it grooms cooperation. Yep. Grooms cooperation. And now let's go back to psychological safety, because when I said about shared purpose and the second loop, you're creating psychological safety, which is that I feel safe within this group, that people have my back, that I can say things and I'm not going to have my head chopped off, that I'm respected as an individual within this group. And also that I can participate in this group. I can be an active participant in this group. That's if you can't establish the conditions for psychological safety, well, I ask you this: what happens to learning? Yeah, it stops. Exactly. You're done, right?
Down the drain.
You're learning that it nosedives. You're learning that this is not a safe place. So I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to fold up my tent, and then you're going to see it. Thank you. And then you're going to see it in the behaviors, all those relief behaviors we talked about. Then we see the head down, or we see I got to go to the bathroom, or we see the people getting out on their phone, right? Well, these are all signs, perhaps, that, okay, maybe there's some psychological flexibility that might need to be happening here. So when we do these 2 loops, here's what happens, folks. And I can tell you from my own experience. You begin to have students who are participating in their own education, right? Because the social is at the top, the emotional is at the bottom, and the noticing is where the learning takes place. Learning happens within the learner. It can't happen anywhere else. We don't teach them anything. They learn. And I treat them that way all the time, right? I don't, when the kids are in front of me, they are human beings, just like I am. We're all swimming in the same soup, and we're going to work together. So it's a very collaborative approach.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And a very non-judgmental one. And as we, as adults and teachers and administrators, are modeling being non-judgmental, we are passing that skill on to them. They might be less judgmental towards themselves and others. So it builds up a whole culture of this non-judgmental curiosity that allows for learning to take place.
Yeah.
And not from a compliance standpoint.
No. The culture is created because people like the feeling of being empowered, of being the captains of their own ship, and being able to make choices. So we treat students within this approach that they can make choices. Choices were all restricted on our choices. Let's face it, right? They might not have the choice whether they come to school or not. But now that you're here, you have choices. So how shall we do this? How would you like to proceed? Right? So I've had kids go, well, I'm tired and bored. I don't want to be here. Cool. Where does that go? Lower left. Well, why'd you come to school? Well, I came here to be with my friends. Okay. Where does that go? Lower right. And, I do need to get some credits this year. Okay. So given that, now what? Well, I guess I'll go to class. Oh, cool. So it's like that. But they leave with their plan, right? All that stuff that happens in the upper right is the plan first for the individual that the individual comes up with. And then second, that the group comes up with. Now, whose plan are you going to be more likely to follow? Yours or one that someone hands to you? I ask you that question.
Mine.
Yes, me too.
Definitely mine. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. So this is how exactly right. Yeah, right. This is great with kids that just, I work with them for years. They didn't want to do nothing. You can't make me. And like, yeah, you're right. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, then you go. So now you're getting a little more nuance there, Carl. Right. Right. And that's what they would have to notice. All right. So, well, maybe my plan was to leave the room. Right. Maybe that was part of my plan. Right. But now I'm noticing, well, I am here and I do need credit. So maybe I might be more inclined to hang in there. So that's where we would add workability. We haven't talked about that up till now, but I did say it when I gave you the definition of psychological flexibility, which is to notice what works. And the only way that you're going to do the noticing is if you go up to the top and you do behaviors, which means, folks, cover your ears. They're going to have to make mistakes. Mistakes in school. Wow. Nope. Gonna have to make mistakes. Gonna have
What
to
if
mess
they
up.
make the teacher look bad?
Yeah. So they can figure it out. Otherwise, they can run around with us telling them what to do, and then they get to be 18, and then what happens, Tina?
They have no idea what to do.
I don't know.
And we'd say, "You're 18 now. You know what to do. I've been telling you what to do your whole life. You know what to do.
Haven't you been listening to what I've been telling you?
All I've taught you is to do what I tell you, but I'm not going to tell you what to do anymore because you're 18. Go on. Shoo.
Yeah. Off you go. Next group coming in.
You should know better. I taught you better.
Really? Oh. Do you hear the judgment, right? And there isn't any. There's none here. When you're doing matrix work, there's no judgment. Everything is okay.
It's really hard to live the life that somebody else thinks you should.
Yes.
And when we are always telling other people what to do and not giving them the opportunity to go out and notice what works, then we're setting them up for a life of looking to other people to tell them what to do.
Right.
And as you get older, less people want to take responsibility for telling you what to do.
Exactly. So what we're doing is we're doing 2 loops, one for the individual, one for the group, if you can. If you can't, you might just be, if you're pressed for time, maybe you're going to do one or the other. And then you're meeting them where they're at and you're helping them to look for noticing of opportunities. And then you're going to get out of their way. And then you'll go on, you can go on with your day. So we've done this at the beginning of the day as a morning check-in kind of a thing. Go on with your day. And then what we used to do in my program is we'd have the matrix up. So it'd be up in the classroom somewhere so that it could be always referred to. Remember like back in the day when they used to do the periodic table of elements? I remember back, right? Yeah. Why did they leave it up there? To remind people kind of, look up. Okay, yeah, there it is. And it's the same thing with the matrix. So the matrix up on a blackboard or a whiteboard or a piece of paper is really going to remind them, it's reminding them of the opportunity to do the thing called notice. It's a very cheap and easy way to help people do noticing in the classroom without telling them that you need to notice that.
Cheap and easy until it became part of you internally, huh?
Yeah.
So is the matrix, would you say perhaps it's part of you internally?
Oh, well, okay. So let me tell you a story, Carl. One day I'm sitting in my office and I'm minding my own business and I hear this student just yelling, right? Top of his lungs. I call that a distress signal. That usually means that someone's going to be in my office pretty quickly, right? So I get up and I go to come out of my office door and in comes the distressed person and he's being led very gently by the shoulders by one of his classmates, right? Oh yeah, we do everything. Yeah. So his
classmate was leading him in.
Exactly. So he's bringing this student in, right, to my office. So we all sit down and he is fussing. He is fuming. I mean, you can just see the steam coming out of his ears, right? And the student that brought him in goes up to my whiteboard, picks up the marker and turns around and says, so-and-so, who's important to you? And he said, my dad. And then he said, who else? Well, you are, I guess. And then they called me Mr. T in school. Mr. T. And you know what I did? I did absolutely nothing. I just sat there because I knew that this kid had it. And I would go on to the story, but the point of it is this student had internalized what we had been doing in his classroom, the middle school student. And he was able to de-escalate this individual to the point where I ended up being able to take two of them back to class. So that's what happens. That's the power of this stuff. Once they get it, they got a tool they can use for life. Yeah, it's very cool.
Do you want to show your tool that you made?
Why don't you show your tool first? Because I've been doing most of the yapping here, and then I'll show my tool.
Okay, I'll pull it up here.
So Tina has joined us a couple of years ago, Kevin and I, and she has come up with a wonderful tool, and she's about to show it to you. And this is something that you can put in the hands of somebody like right away. And it doesn't even require adults to be around.
Here. So if you go to that green button below, we put together something called, I should share my screen so that
you can do that?
See. I can. I was going to. There we go. So if you click that green button below, it will take you to this little information page about the ACT Matrix, what it is, why Kevin created it, what it can be used for. And then this first section is about Matrix Mind Stretch with the Flex folks, which is something that I started driving up, I don't know, at some point, and I said, we could make little characters to go along with each of these. So my brother, who is remarkably talented, helped me put together this whole workbook. We have a training to go with it. And if you click this button, it will take you to either the flexfolks.com or matrixmindstretch.com will get you there. And we came up with a few different characters for each of the quadrants of the matrix. And we've got the 5 senses starfish and the permission peacock. You can download the digital version and print it, as many as you want. We offer, when you do the download, there's a color version and a grayscale version. So if you don't want to use all the color, there's a grayscale version that comes with the download. But it starts with the permission peacock. And he recruited his father-in-law to write these beautiful poems.
Oh, they're gorgeous. The poems
they really are. Let me see. Yeah. So there's a poem that goes along with each character.
Yeah, there's one for each character, one for each quadrant, right?
There's one for each quadrant. Oh, it's not going to look very good. But we have the.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
It is, yeah. We have the Who's Important Owl, the 5 senses starfish. What's this one? We called them the internal insects. My 4-year-old, who is a matrix wizard, calls them the mind bugs because we all have,
Great.
We all relate to insects differently, right? Some people approach a honeybee, some people avoid a honeybee.
Yeah. Yep.
We've got the satisfaction salamander, the noticing narwhal, the unicorn of the sea. There's a page here about context, because our behaviors all occur in a context. But so we've got these little facilitators who walk through. There's the contextual chameleon and the workability woodpecker. And there's a lot of blank matrix diagrams. We have a little mini course that we put together here that has some animated videos. That's free if you click on the free training. And then there are also some free other downloads here. And we did a Pocket Matrix for Stress. There's some t-shirts, but this one, if you just want a blank download with the matrix, like Phil was saying, put it up on the wall if you want one that has some characters.
Leave it up.
The other one that would be good for a wall, and Jesse has a dream that a teacher is going to put it on their wall and take a picture of it, is, let's see, this one, The Matrix Explained, and it has each of the different pieces. Not with the Raising Up Resilience logo, that's just for the website. But he thinks that, it should be on a wall for the steps of the matrix. So this is all here. It's available on Amazon as a download, paperback on Amazon. You can purchase it there, or you can do the digital download. And we'll continue over on our YouTube page. If you search for Tina Long, all 10 of the characters are there with a little vignette and a little doodle about them. I showed Phil a couple minutes ago, well, before we started. It's pretty cool. So tying in just some fun animations, and it helps, we have the yucky stuff yak. Yaks have a really big back. They'll carry your yucky stuff.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, the poems are lovely. I think there you can get just a book of poems as well, and just a book of the coloring. We called them coloring pages at first, until he put it all together. And I was like, this is much more than a coloring book. This is really more than that. So check that out. And then Phil, you've got this cool thing.
Oh yeah. So okay. So here we'll go back, and I have
my
myself
small.
with me here,
Copy
so.
there. Good.
All right. So what I did a few years ago was someone that I know, actually, I'll tell you, his name is Maurice Elias, Dr. Maurice Elias, and he is probably one of the biggies in social emotional learning in this country, if not internationally. And he used to send me undergraduate interns that would do some work in our program. So he got very familiar with the matrix. So he and I were at a conference one day. We were both presenting, and we were talking about how to get it out there. And my thinking was, people said, write a book. I'm like, well, people don't read books. And I wanted something that I could put in the hands of a teacher that they could just take and use right away. So we were talking about this, and he goes, you could put it into a trifold. I'm like, oh, okay. So he put me in touch with the folks at National Professional Resources a couple of years ago. And we came up with the ACT Matrix Trifold for SEL, mental health, collaboration, achievement. And so here it is. Here's what it looks like. So it's a 6-page guide that walks you through the entire process of how you could take this diagram and sight unseen, and you could, as a teacher, read through it and be able to walk through it with a student or with a group of students. And the first page, just kind of a little bit about how you set it up. And then we would go to, here's the next page, is the first loop. And then we would then proceed on to the second loop. Right?
And you have links to some video demos down there too.
And noticing. Then we would do what we just did with you, Carl. We teach a little bit about sorting. And then within the diagram, within this trifold, there are links to videos that would I demonstrate how you would do each of those things if you need to watch somebody else do it, because some people like to see somebody else do it. It's not required. So my goal was to try to get this into the schools. So if you think you're interested, or if you're working in a school and you think the school might be interested, then you would go to the link in there in our green button below, and National Professional Resources are the ones that distribute it. It's in this country, it's $12.95 plus shipping and handling, and it's laminated so that it'll stand the test of time. And I always like to say, well, hey, look, you can eat off of it. If you don't want to talk to people, you can just do that. It's got a lot of different uses to it. But
show them the matrix while hiding from them.
Exactly. Yeah. What I like about it is that it's a physical product, just like what Tina has done. It's a physical product, which is another way to enhance perspective taking and psychological flexibility. You're doing something. You're involving more of your senses, and especially when you're young, the more senses that you have involved, the easier the learning becomes, because you have these multiple channels going on. So, I think we did it, Tina.
We did it.
We did it. And, there's more stuff that we're cooking up. Tina and Kevin and I, we're always cooking up stuff. So we'll probably have some more SEL stuff. And maybe even if there's interest to do some more SEL stuff, within the Crowdcast. We do that from time to time. We come back to it. And I felt today it was really important to do some SEL stuff and mental health stuff, because what you're doing when you're doing this is you're promoting social emotional learning, and you're promoting mental health, and you're promoting psychological flexibility, and you're promoting psychological safety.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, do we need all of that right now.
Yeah. Yes. And our teachers are.
And our teachers.
Yeah.
And something that we didn't mention yet that you might have already surmised, which is when you're doing the matrix, you are increasing your own psychological flexibility. So that is the big secret here that we're going to reveal at the end. I do it because I want to keep my own psychological flexibility going.
Yeah.
And I know that the teachers that I've taught to do it have told me the same thing.
Yeah.
It frees them up to do more of what they want to do because they're going through the process themselves.
Yeah.
Bi-directional.
Yeah.
So I
Thank
think
you.
that's it. Any questions before we pop on?
Yeah.
If you have any questions? We'll just see. I think we're pretty good. Maybe somebody's formulating something. So, sign up for more Crowdcasts. We'll come back again. Usually we're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. This Monday is a holiday here in the States. It's Memorial Day, so there won't be any Crowdcasts. So we'll be back on Wednesday. And then we do some other stuff too. We do some business building and we do some life coaching. We have masterminds and stuff like that. But I didn't want to get into any of that today. This is really about trying to get a flexible and safe way to work with teachers and students.
I have the paperback copy of Matrix Mind Stretch right here. I should show
Oh,
it.
great.
I had it ready.
Quick run through before we scoot off then.
Here's Matrix.
There it is.
It's a nice, 8.5 by 11. The cover is this really velvety matte. But here's the Yucky Stuff Yak and the little poem that goes with it. And they really do go, this is the Relief Rabbit. Look at that rabbit. And then noticing the colors are really nice. And the way it prints from Amazon is really nice.
It really does.
Yeah.
Really pops, as they say, right? Very nice.
What
age you guys would you? Okay, so Carl's asking, what age did you say?
All ages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big kids and little kids, right?
Yeah. I started showing the Matrix to my daughter when she was, 3. And she loves Matrix Mind Stretch and talks about all the characters. She's also just a Matrix sorting wizard. We do it often. And, I think all ages. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
With the flex folks and the characters, it just depends on the person. I think adults find it, cute and comical, and I love talking about this.
It's light. It's light, yeah. And if you've noticed, folks, that we do this in a very light way.
Yeah.
So when Tina came up with this, it was perfect because it's a very light way to flex yourself up.
Right.
Exactly.
That Yucky Stuff Yak, it's got a big back to carry your yucky stuff on.
It sure does.
The 5 senses starfish. Is there anything that could fit better?
Who doesn't like a starfish? And the noticing narwhal in the middle.
The unicorn of the sea, because the place to be in the Matrix is in the middle. And the contextual chameleon.
Taking it all in.
Yeah. Now I have been talking. I've been talking to teenagers, but I've been trying to figure out what a more sort of adolescent, interesting way to approach it would be. And I think we came up with what are you looking forward to?
Yeah.
And what's the stuff that sucks in your life?
Yeah.
Things like that.
One
of our babysitters said that when they were doing virtual learning, they would always share roses and thorns. So what are you looking forward to? What are you not looking, what do you want to avoid? Yeah. So we've got more workbook ideas in our brains that will come out or not. But doing one for adolescents, young adults. We've got the life coaching one. That starts with a life purpose, which is, a little more. Right. So Carl, the life coaching workbook that we have might be a good one for your adult son if you wanted to show him something, or just drawing 2 lines would be cool. The RFT book, Phil's son is. Yep,
Gabe is working on it as we speak.
Yeah,
getting ready with the first draft. So we're hoping to get that out sometime in the near future.
Yeah. An RFT workbook would be fun. That would definitely put a very flexible, light, accessible spin on relational frame theory, which
Oh boy, would it ever.
I think
And if anything needs a flexible spin, folks, it's
Yeah.
RFT.
Yeah. Updates to RFT. Carl, what's that? I'm curious. What are the updates to RFT? I didn't subscribe to the RFT blog.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna give them to you.
Oh, this is, I think, Carl, did you send the article? I think this is I'm saying,
Yeah,
I'm use
yeah,
CGIF, but
probably
that's not what it is.
No, this
But
is
now I know, Carl, what
this
you're talking about.
is street level
Yeah.
RFT, Carl.
Yeah, street.
This is how you can
Take it to the
basically
street.
do RFT
Yeah.
on yourself with other people, without all those equations and other extra stuff added on.
But Carl, now I remember the article that you
shared. The Rome stuff, right? Probably.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, Yvonne Barnes home stuff and all that.
Yeah. No, this is
Act Matrix. This is Act Matrix version.
Yeah, with 2 lines. RFT for 4-year-olds.
Yeah,
that's what we should call it.
Yeah, right.
Not dummies, because
No. Yeah.
RFT for 4-year-olds.
Yeah. I know that's the one. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Carl. Right.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Phil, for being here.
And thank you, Tina, for being here.
Wait, I've got these 2 here. They're on that Mindstruck, but we did the to-do list with the Act Matrix.
Oh yeah, right. There you go.
This is a cool one for adults or classrooms. When I was looking at this earlier, I thought, what if we wrote down what we're going to avoid and approach today in class? There's that one. Yep. And then we made a little daily matrix prompt. If classrooms do journaling, it's just the matrix, but you put a different title on it. Lots of classrooms do your daily journal. My matrix journal. The download is there. Yeah. Thank you. See you soon.
Okay, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Happy Memorial Day.
Same to you, Tina. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.